Hi. This week we were asked to discuss one of the amendments in the Bill of Rights. I selected the First Amendment, specifically freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is one of our most cherished freedoms. But just like any freedom, there's limitations. Limitations could include defamation, fighting words, avocation of imminent lawless action. But I think one of the most interesting exceptions to free speech is student speech. Constitutional law can be a very complicated topic. Supreme Court opinions can be dozens of pages long and have extremely complicated terminology and background information that you need to understand in order to comprehend the case. And I found that using student speech is a way to get students interested enough in the topic that they'll put the work into reading those complex documents. Tinker versus Des Moines was really the first landmark Supreme Court case involving student speech where the court ruled in favor of the students. In Tinker versus Des Moines, students were protesting the Vietnam War by wearing black armbands. The school had asked them not to do this. The students wore the armbands anyway, and they were suspended. This case eventually reached the Supreme Court, and like I said earlier, the court ruled in favor of the students. In the Supreme Court opinion, kind of a famous quotation from that opinion, says that it can hardly be argued that either students or teachers shed their constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate. So students do have some right to freedom of speech in school. However, since that ruling in the 1960s, the Supreme Court has consistently went away from that ruling and ruled on behalf of the schools. Some of those court cases include Bethel versus Frazier, Hazelwood versus Kuhlmeier, and Morse versus Frederick. And in those cases, like I said, the Supreme Court ruled on behalf of the students, giving administrators a wide power to limit speech that could be viewed as disruptive. That goes against the fundamental values of public school education, or that is reasonably related to legitimate pedagogical concerns. Those are some quotes from those opinions. These cases are really interesting, and students enjoy reading about them. But there are some scholars that are concerned about these cases, the cases that have retreated away from students' ability to express themselves in school. In an article that I read this week called Valuing Student Voices, Richard Rowe argues that this retreat from protecting students' free speech is concerning. He explains the importance of the ability for students to express themselves and that aids in their cognitive development, and so not doing so is actually inhibiting their growth. So, like all freedoms, the First Amendment is limited. Right or wrong, student speech is one of those limitations and exceptions to free speech.